Good evening, Rick. Would you believe it's Dr. Doom? What's on your evil mind? Oh, you insulting tongue, it mocks my words well.
How about this rumor that you are really hired, Mr. Stark?
Oh, thankfully I didn't hit the wrong button. Hello and welcome to another exciting episode of the Comic Book Chronicles.
Yay!
All right, yeah. So, folks, we are back again once again. However, due to some technical difficulties, Simon will be here in a moment, hopefully. But right now, we absolutely have positively given a warm round of applause for PCN_Dirt. Yay!
Yay!
Yeah, I don't know who is back with us.
I don't know. That's my entrance music now. There you go.
That worked. If you had gone with Miami, that would have also worked.
I got to use the meme soundboard because Agent_70 isn't here with the sound effects, so I'm going to do the best I can here.
Indeed, yes. So PCN_Dirt of PCN_Dirt on Twitter and Pop Culture Network fame. Also, what is it?
INeedComics.com.
Right.
It's part of the Pop Culture Network.
Yes, it is.
There you go.
Oh, that was you doing that. I thought that was Dave. Okay. I was like, right. I was tripping for a second. Not with us tonight is one Tim Dog 98 on Twitter, who's taking care of some people.
Some sad music for him not being here.
If you had the Incredible Hulk theme song, though, that would have...
You know, I don't think that's on here. Sorry.
Nah, they haven't memed. Somebody memed that up so we can have someone put that on the soundboard. But you can also find Tim at CB Cron on Twitter. You can also find him at The KLIQ Nation. That's DKLIQNATION on Twitter. Also, theklicknation.com. And you know what? You may or may not know this by now, but he's writing all over. Well, he was writing all over the place, and now he works at CBR. So go check his stuff out there.
Just do it!
Boom, that worked. And the man behind the soundboard, who is usually doing the soundboard, who is not here yet, but is trying to work out his technical difficulties. Agent_70 on Twitter, and Agent_70 on Instagram. You can check him out there. You can find this fine podcast at cspn.us, home for this podcast and a lot of other ones. But you can also find us on Google Play, iTunes, Apple Podcasts, whichever one you want to call it. I'm gonna call it iTunes because I don't care. SoundCloud, Mixcloud. We don't know too much about that one, but you can find us out there. This podcast is all over the place.
Do it!
So, exactly. And with that, we never did discuss actually what we were going to start with.
Oh, I know what we can start with.
These
Okay.
nuts!
You know what?
I can't help it. You know, it's one of these things, like I turned into like a little 10-year-old again when I start having this stuff around. I just can't.
You're not my dad!
That actually worked out pretty damn nicely. But as far as books that we're going to start off with,
I didn't fill out the sheet. I've been actually scrambling this afternoon, reading as much as I can.
Yeah.
Talk about what you want to talk about. If we have anything that overlaps, then I'll jump in. And then when you're done, if Dave's not here yet, then I'll jump in with some books.
That sounds good. And Tim has provided us with a couple of his books, so we can also get those out of So actually, I'm going to start with this one because you may or may not be interested in this. And that is Star Trek: The Next Generation Through the Mirror #2.
I actually have those saved up to read, but I have not read them yet.
Nice. Did you read the first?
Yeah, I read the first one.
Yes, okay.
And I liked it quite a bit, but I just haven't had time to get to the new series yet.
Understood. Yeah, I did not realize it until this week that they're apparently doing this one weekly, and I don't know why they're doing that.
Because of the new movie? No. Because of the new series? No.
Well, no, because it has nothing to do with Discovery. So, But it's weird. Like the first, so for those who don't know, so this is the second miniseries that bridges the Star Trek Next Generation universe with Prime Universe with the Mirror Universe, because they never had any Mirror Universe episodes during the run of the show. I feel like I've mentioned that before, and if somebody's trying to correct it, I'm sure that it will come. But regardless, so this is the second miniseries they had to do that, because the first one was strictly dealing with the Mirror Universe side of things. Now we cut to the where it bridges over to the Prime Universe, and in so I don't know if you saw last week's episode, Dirt, but talked about the first one. Not necessarily, well, kind of left, but not necessarily, not to get into too much, but basically it kind of kicked the ball off rolling, and this one kind of continues that, in that there are incursions into the Prime Universe by the Mirror Universe folks, and the Prime Universe folks are trying to figure out what's going on. And they basically at the end of this issue, not to skip ahead because I know you probably want to read it, but they finally got their first whiff of what's kind of going on, or who may be.
So the first issue was entirely set, or the first series, I mean, the first miniseries was entirely set in the Mirror Universe, just showing what it's like to have an evil Barclay on your ship in the Mirror Universe. And then this series shows how they're finally crossing over. And so you're getting now basically the episode that you would have gotten back when the original Next Generation was running, of them doing the Mirror Universe stuff.
Exactly. And also you're getting, now that I think about it, in this one, there's also a couple of pages B stories to both of these issues that are set in the Mirror Universe, that are set months prior to what's going on in the A story.
So you're getting extra at no added charge?
Basically. I mean...
Well, that's amazing.
I believe they have been 32 issue books. I mean 32 page books. Or I should check that out before I said that. But anyway, I'll do that.
And also, just as a crazy side note, this doesn't have anything to do with anything, but the first series and this one, I've actually not been buying. I didn't buy them in paper. I've been buying them through the Kindle app, of all things. So I'm reading them. I can actually pull them up on my black and white Kindle reader, or on my tablet and read it through the app that way.
That look.
It's a little funky. I mean, it is grayscale. I mean, the Kindle can do gray and everything, but it's just one of those things. I was playing around with it one day, and I was like, "Oh, I can order comics through the Kindle thing and read it in this black and white." So I tried it, and for whatever reason, I was like, "All right, that's how I'm doing Star Trek Mirror Universe now."
That's a novel way to do it. That's for sure. But yeah, you know what? I actually did the first series. Actually, I am doing this one also, but I did the first series that same way also. But I did buy the first copy of this one in paper for some other reason, because I figured, why not? It's 33 pages. So, but yeah, but so far it's been kind of like what you said. It's pretty much starting off an episode of TNG, and they're going about their merry way, and they're finding these things are going on, but they don't realize, who's
right
doing news. And like I said, now at the end of this one, they're finally getting. I don't know how many issues this mini is going to be. I think the last one ran 5.
Yeah,
so I expect this one to do that much different.
Yeah, I would guess so, because they like to collect those as 5 into those trades. So,
but as to why they're doing this one weekly, it's kind of weird. And the reason why I brought that up, because as you know, when they're doing weekly series, there's a
different artist.
There's an art thing. Yeah, kind of, but it doesn't. Actually, I should check. So, but the art for the A story is different, but the art for the B story is the same as the last series. So,
okay.
They're okay. So they're keeping the Mirror Universe in one art style, which I loved, in one art style, and then they may be just doing the Prime Universe in this one, which is kind of cool. So I'm kind of curious as to if they're going to keep that up during the whole A story. or they're going to like shift.
Yeah, because with it being something that doesn't come out regularly, you would hope that they'd have enough lead up time that they could keep some consistency on the art and say, okay, in 6 months we're going to have this come out, so get started on it now, and then they're able to have it come out weekly, and it doesn't have to change all that much from issue to issue.
Yeah, I thought about that. Like maybe they got it all up, pretty much all or most of it out of the way. But the weird thing about it is like that last minute, not saying that they couldn't have done this all at one time, but that last series wasn't that long ago. Like it was only a few months ago. It actually ended like a couple months ago.
Was the number one? Was that a Halloween Comic Fest book, or was that a Free Comic Book Day last year, or the Zero?
There was a Zero for Free Comic Book Day last year.
Okay, well then the Zero came out last year, and then it was a 5 month. It probably got delayed a month or two in there, so 6 months. So, well, I mean, who knows? Yeah,
because I feel like there was a month or two that it might have skipped, but I don't remember. But regardless, if you are a fan of, as I know Dirt is, if you're a fan of Star Trek, specifically the Next Generation, and want to see a pretty decent Mirror Universe story, that last one is the one to get. This one is still kind of going on. It's kind of shaping up to be like an episode of TNG that would have been set, like Dirt said. So. And
considering I'm one of those people that I don't like Discovery, and I didn't really care for the last film a whole lot, so this came in at like a nice, this is my Star Trek is back.
I still haven't. Yeah, you said you didn't like Voyager either, which I don't know too many people who do.
You know what? And I never really. I watched like the first few episodes, and people have told me that once it gets into like the second or third season, it actually gets a whole lot better, and it's on Netflix or Prime, one of those services. And so I may go back and give it another shot, let it run for a little bit longer. Because I just remember back when it first came out, I just didn't care for it.
As I recall, because I remember watching it when it was going on. And yeah, it did have a little, but all Star Trek shows had that first year's kind of slump.
Not Deep Space Nine.
It kind of did, but I still loved it for that. I agree with you to a point. Because I love the shit out of Deep Space Nine. So I'm not going to talk shit about it at all. But it did kind of have that. It was like, well, we're just doing these off-brand stories, but it picked up.
Yeah, so. But Deep Space Nine always felt like it had more of a cohesion to the overall arc of the show. Even if it wasn't as strong in the first couple seasons, you still felt like you were getting progression, through it that you didn't find in the other Trek shows. Didn't really seem to do that a whole lot.
True. Right, because it was only like basically in the middle or near the end of the second season when when the war started breaking out and he turned into a man called Hawk again.
Yeah, he mirror universe himself.
Basically,
he had hair and clean shaven, and then he left, and then suddenly they were swapped.
Mm-hmm. And I think when they did the mirror universe, they did.
That was the first return of the mirror universe was in Deep Space Nine, and that got everybody excited. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, but anyway, we can talk all day about Deep Space Nine because
it's like 15 minutes on Star Trek. Let's move on.
Yeah. So anyway, that was Star Trek Next Generation Through the Mirror. So pick it up if you care to. I'm not saying it's a bad story because it's not. It's just it's starting out. Do it. So that will lead us into. Actually, I want to start talking about that. Did you read any new the Free Comic Book Day stuff from this year?
No, I haven't read anything from Free Comic Book Day.
Yeah, because right before we started, I started reading that Avengers Captain America one. I didn't get that one.
I only grabbed like 4 books for myself. The kids grabbed a bunch of books, but for myself, I remember grabbing the Captain America Avengers. What was the other Marvel one? Spider-Man. Amazing Spider-Man.
Those were the only 2.
And then I grabbed 2 others, and I couldn't even tell you right now, like, because I haven't read them, off the top of my head. I couldn't even tell you what they were that I grabbed. But I just remember looking at a lot of the books that came out this year and just being like, nah.
Yeah.
Like, nah.
Yeah. So that was so you know what? We're gonna take a break real quick and talk about that real quick, because I was gonna get to it later, but you may or may not be around for this, and so not to belabor the point. But so I went to the Free Comic Book Day thing, and I grabbed because from my shop there was like you can only grab 3.
Right. Yeah.
which is fine, kind of fine, because like the three main ones they had that I really wanted, and that was the two Marvel ones, and I think a Power Rangers one. I can't remember what the other one.
Yeah,
was.
there was a Power Rangers Shattered Grid or whatever. Yeah.
So I wanted to grab that for that, and then I was going to grab a couple. I was going to go to another shop and grab a couple of the other ones, and then I was like, I didn't feel like doing that. It was a pretty good turnout. So I think you went to your shop.
Well, actually, I was working. He called me into work, even though I technically don't work there anymore. On a day like that, he always brings in a lot of extra people because we had, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 artists and 3 writers.
Nice.
That were all set up, and a couple of them are guys that do that go around to the shows. So they had their whole Comic-Con booth set up. One of them was a guy that did these really nice airbrush type pictures that you always see of like Linda Carter as Wonder Woman and whatever. He had those set up, and people selling like their pins that they made with the characters and doing sketches, and guys who do local indie comic stuff that they had their own small press books there that they were handing out. So we actually had 2 different spots in the store. Like as you walked in, you passed one group, and then you got your free comics, and then you went past the other group of guys to circle around and get back out of the store. So it was packed busy until about 3 or 4 in the afternoon is when it finally started to slow down. So it was a big day for the store. So like I said, I went in there probably about a half hour before we opened, and I grabbed my books. I'm kind of looking. Oh, Bob's Burgers. I grabbed that one.
Mm-hmm.
I always grab a Bob's Burgers. I can't figure out what the other one is though. I'm going through the list now, but
there was an Archie one. Yeah, well, I got a list of. Well, we had a list actually in the news about all the ones that came out, but I mean, that's not going to really do us.
And then my kids always get the Bongo Simpsons one, and oh man, there was something else. I don't know. I can't think. I'm looking through this list. It's not doing me any good, so I'm going to let it go. But Agent _70, can you hear us?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Yay, ladies and gentlemen, it's Agent _70.
Waiting for the sound effect to kick in.
It's not kicking.
No, I don't.
Really? Oh no.
No.
I'm gonna have to double check my
It's not
sound.
even walking.
No kidding. Like I had a yeah, right. No, it's whatchamacallit. I think my mixer software is updated or updated recently, and now it's kind of screwy.
Oh, that's so before you came in, we talked about one book, which I feel fairly confident you did not read, but we were just talking about Free Comic Book Day as an aside.
Okay.
And they're just.
I can't remember the 4th book I grabbed. I'm trying to go through the list and look at it, but I haven't had a chance to read them.
Right.
So there was the 2 Marvels, the Bob's Burgers, and then I grabbed something else, and I can't even remember what the 4th one I grabbed for myself was. But the point I was getting at though is that those are the only ones that I grabbed for myself were those 4 books, because so many of the books I looked at this year, I just there was a James Bond, but it was a reprint from the old series. I'm not reading Power Rangers, so that was a tie-in that really didn't, do anything for me. But last year's was the Star Trek one, so of course I grabbed that one last year, but this year it just didn't appeal to me, And even the Marvel books, it's like I grabbed them because it's Avengers, Captain America, Spider-Man. I mean, it's the big characters, so I grabbed them. But even then, I'm just like, well, I'll read these sometime. Just not real excited for what came out. And then the DC stuff was did the Superhero Girls, which I think my daughter may have grabbed one of those. And did they have something else? Was that it?
There was the Transformers Unicron one, which I didn't pick up, but it was a Disney Princesses.
Oh yeah, my daughter got that one. Yeah.
Doctor Who as a Pokemon one, which I think I was going to pick up, but
my son got that one. Yeah, but we also, I mean, you were saying your local store limited people to 3. Right. We limit to 5.
Same here.
Well, I was just going to say, and that's partly because you will have the people that come in and try to grab everything, and it's like it forces you to be. Yeah, we heard that. So it forces you to be a little more picky on what you're picking up. You know, you're going to pick up the stuff that you're actually interested in instead of just being one of those guys who comes in and grabs one of everything and walks out. But also, you know, as a lot of people don't know, but stores have to pay for them.
Right.
And yeah, but not only that, but there's also the shipping. So if you think about it, you know, you're paying 25 cents a copy for some of these books, or 38 cents for some of the bigger ones that they'll do. But then, you know, a box of comics is not cheap to ship. I mean, you know, they may be paying another $200-300 just in freight costs of shipping the boxes, you know, to the store. So there's a lot of money that goes into getting the stuff for free to give away, you know. So that's another reason why we limit it too. And the hope is that, and you know, if someone were to walk in and grab 5 and then like buy some stuff, buy a trade, and then walk out and then come back, you know, a half hour later, grab 5 more things and buy something else, you know, then it's like no big deal. Okay, you know, you're buying something, you're a customer, that's cool. But it's basically, again, just to stop those people who come in and grab one of everything and walk out, and you see them once a year, you know.
Of course.
So yeah, there was
plenty of those.
Yeah, there was an Adventure Time one. There was a Legend of Korra one. There was a couple of seemed like some new books that you never really heard of before. But yeah, there was something for pretty much everybody there. But you want to talk about yours, 870, real quick?
My what? The books I picked up for Free Comic Book Day?
Sure. Or did you go? Or...
I only was able to pick up the Spidey one, and I haven't read it yet. I'm waiting on the Avengers one. So
which out there on Comixology, so we can go ahead and put that news out there. And actually I can skip that for news. Great. Okay. So let's get back to books then. If nobody else has anything to say about Free Comic Book Day, like I said, we'd already did one book. I guess I can throw out this other book real quick, and then we can go get off to what you guys got. Batman White Knight #8, which I got a feeling is probably a good way to segue into you guys's, because I know at least a couple of y'all read some DC stuff. Batman White Knight #8. This is the last book of this miniseries, and I want to say that I enjoyed the story a lot. So if you did not know, this is an Elseworlds story where basically the Joker turns good and Batman is the bad guy in a nutshell. So we have one Jack Napier. I've said this before in passing, so some people, if you know, may or may not have heard this. But like I said, we have Jack Napier, a version of the Joker. Joker ends up losing the Joker persona by some means and ends up going up against Batman by, legal means, quote unquote. And meanwhile, also showing the people of Gotham that Batman is the true villain all along. It ends up by kind of sort of going back the way you think it would in one sense, but at the same time, it also ends up, I don't want to say redeem the Joker because it kind of doesn't, but it redeems part of his persona, and that also his relationship with Harley and her story. She ends up having a good story in this, and even there's I don't even want to say a redemptive arc to Batman, but he kind of comes to a certain point at the end of this book. But the crux of this issue is that things had kind of been reversed. So there was this new Joker and the Mad Hatter that came in and started messing up Gotham in the place of the old Joker. And this is the Joker, Batman, and Gotham PD all coming together to save the day, basically. And that was, like I said, the big crux of the story. There was a lot of action, and it was pretty good. Like I said, I expected a little more predictability out of the end of the story, and I got a little bit of that. But at the same time, they didn't completely just rewrite and say, "Oh no, Batman's good again and Joker's bad again," and everything is back the way it was. Kind of situation. There's also another part about the whole story that I'm omitting that is part of the crux of this, but if you feel like you want to read through these issues, you might want to, because you understand, if you know much about the Batman mythos, then there's only a couple of things that would make him go go really rogue like that. And one reason was, or any more than he already does, I should say, that would make him go to the lengths that he did during the course of the story. So, like I said, I enjoyed it. It is definitely a possible KLIQ of the week for me. And if you want a good Elseworlds Batman story, check this out.
Now that it's finished, it'll probably be a lot easier to just sit down and read in one shot, right?
Mm-hmm. Totally. Probably be worth it doing it that way. Like I said, I would like I've enjoyed reading it, the month to month, like it's been coming out. But yeah,
cool.
And I love the art in it too, because it was like obviously you can tell it's it is not a regular art style unless you know the artist. But so that being said, do either one of you gentlemen want to throw out anything?
Like maybe fill out anything in the sheet? All right.
Yeah, I didn't add anything to the sheet, but I did read some stuff today. So
did you read No Justice #1?
I did read No Justice #1.
No justice, no peace. So this is the kickoff to the reorganization of the Justice League and the Justice League family of books. This is written by Scott Snyder and Joshua Williamson, and I think James Tynion as well. So I see that Tim Dog also read it.
Mm-hmm.
And Tim's notes on this are: it's a great introductory issue with art by Francis Manipool. So many story threads being seeded here for the larger DC universe. That pretty much sums it up in a very neat nutshell. It was interesting to see the breakdown in terms of the way these groups of heroes are being subdivided according to characterization, and I guess how they're supposed to mesh together. The crux of the story is that Brainiac, a version of Brainiac, is trying to save his home planet and is organizing heroes and villains, spoiler alert, to try to combat these Celestials. Oh no, I mean other characters in the DC universe who are coming around, passing judgment upon worlds.
So did you read Avengers #1 last week?
Yes.
Do you feel like someone somewhere was sitting back to back in a booth at a restaurant, and they kept hearing notes of the other guy's story, it seemed, and kept working it back and forth into their plots here? Because I read Avengers, and then literally like 2 comics later I read No Justice #1, and I'm like, didn't I just isn't there a lot? Wait a minute, what's going on here?
It kind of seems like, well, historically there's that has happened, but it seemed like the last couple of years there's been something like that's been going on. I
mean, this is literally like the same ongoing storylines,
right?
Between the 2 books.
Yep.
And we can talk about Avengers later. You guys, I don't know if you covered it.
We talked about it last week.
Yeah. We did, just not in like super detail.
Yeah. But No Justice, I thought it was one of those books that it was very well put together for people who don't normally read a lot of the Justice League books. And so there's a lot of characters that get tossed in here, and you're seeing the Titans and the Teen Titans and Suicide Squad and all these other players are being moved around, and I thought it did a pretty good job where it didn't have to sit there and have someone give a biography for every character who appeared, but it made it clear at some point like what their name was, if they're good or bad, and what their powers are. So by the time you got to the end of it, you had a pretty good idea, even if you didn't know who the new Adam was or any of that storyline. You see this guy, you see him a little while later, and he's tiny, and Lobo's talking to him about, so if I stick you in somebody's gut and then you grow super big, you'd kill him. And, so you understand like what his power is because of that. So I thought it did a really good job if you're a lapsed reader or a new reader, or you're kind of like, what is this thing? Maybe I can get into it, but I don't know if I can handle all these characters. Right. It lays it out very well for you.
It's actually a decent jumping on point. Yeah, to echo what PCN_Dirt said, it's actually a decent jumping on point. This actually flows directly from the events of whatchamacallit, Metal, Dark Knight's Metal. So because this is a direct this is a direct effect of the aftermath of Metal and the breaking of the Source Wall. So That's where all this is coming from, and you know, even without having to read that, you understand what happened in the first couple of pages.
Yeah, and even then, you know, the source wall and these cosmic, you know, beings and whatever, and how similar they are to the stuff that's going on in Avengers. I think those were all Jack Kirby creations.
Yeah.
So his creations on the Marvel side are getting worked with, and his creations on the DC side are getting worked with. So I mean, there's kind of a reason why they're so similar, because they came from the mind of the same guy.
Right.
But then the fact that they're doing these storylines at the same time just makes it all the more interesting.
Absolutely.
Wasn't it Kirby's 100th this year?
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, this is it.
I suspect that wasn't the reason why they did this, but you know, I'm just putting it out there.
But it is nice to see, you know, because one of the things I saw, like the promotional stuff for it, and it showed the 4 Justice League teams, and I'm looking at these teams, and I'm like, like what? Why is Sinestro on one of these teams? Like what? Yeah. And then there's another one that has Zatanna, and I've never really cared for the Magic side that much of the DC universe, and so I'm like, Magic characters, and like, I don't, you know. But this lays out the fact why they're broken into these teams and why some of these people were chosen, because they're working towards these different goals. And I do get the feeling, though, that as much as they've set this up to be these 4 groups, that, you know, 6 months from now, you're not going to see these 4 groups. Like, I do get the feeling that you're going to see a little bit of reshuffling, kind of back to a little more familiar, you know, terms when they get back into an ongoing series later on down the road. But for now, it's fun and it makes sense.
I was going to say it also depends on sales.
Well, yeah, probably. But you know, every time you switch, you know, you bring in new writers, you bring in someone new to be creative, you bring in a new editor or whatever. When it goes from a mini series to a ongoing, you know, when Justice League starts up again, at some point down the road, it's, you know, you kind of move on from it. But I, you know, it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed reading it. So I had a lot of fear going into this. Whenever they do some sort of big reorganizing and into one of these events, I'm always a little hesitant of how much I'm going to like it. And I actually did like it. I didn't hate it at all.
Cool. No, I liked it too. It was a good issue.
Well, since y'all mentioned that Manipool was doing the art on it, I may have to give it a shot. I mean, I did have some curiosity about it, but if it sounds that similar to the current, I mean, well, to the recent Avengers event, that's going to be weird.
Right. And as usual, female new school Nick Fury, I mean Amanda Waller, is working in the background with some more shenanigans, you know, because you know, it was Viola Davis that played her, right, in the movie.
Yeah,
she's got more shine, she's got more exposure, so they give her some more to do because the Suicide Squad is involved in this crossover or this miniseries,
and even Task Force 11
right
appears in this one. So there you go.
Ooh.
Alrighty.
Weird. So thank you, because you guys have just informed the title of this episode. So thanks for that.
Okay.
What's that? It wasn't DC's female version of New School.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's at the top of the sheet.
Although to be fair, she existed long before New School
Nick
Fury. So.
All right. So that being the case, let's see. Anybody got anything else they want to throw out?
Not for DC.
I did read the Action Comics special that came out. I think it was last week. It's an oversized. All the Superman books are in flux right now, waiting for Bendis to come in and do his Man of Steel miniseries.
Gotcha.
So this is. I don't really know how to explain it. It feels almost like an annual in the type of thing where it's a story that doesn't really matter, but they try to give some gravity to it, so it feels like at least you had a purpose for reading it. And in this particular book, there's someone who knows all the secrets about Superman, all the secrets about Lois Lane, all the secrets about the Fortress of Solitude, has appeared and is starting to try to dismantle Clark Kent's life. And so it all comes to head in a big, fist-to-fist battle towards the end. And there's one of those like Silver Age type twists at the end for who the villain is. And it's someone where at the beginning you think, oh, it's got to be this guy. But then the story plays very hard to point you a different direction. So it's like, no, it's not that guy. It's somebody else. But then when you get to the end, okay, it is that guy, but it's not the story that you thought you were reading. It's actually, you know, something else that's a little different. And I'm obviously, you know, being very obtuse here and trying not to give away a lot of details. But that's really, it's a mystery. And I don't want to give away the mystery, but the mystery does have that Silver Age twist to it. And it is something that it feels like an annual where it's all contained. You know, so it's not like lingering plot threads that are going to run off into a bunch of other stuff, but it does feel like it's grabbing a bunch of different stuff that's been going on in the Superman books and kind of bringing them together to get this story out, you know, before everything resets when, you know, Bendis comes in or whatever. So it is, if you have been reading any of the Superman books, it's a good thing to pick up and to read along. And even if you haven't and you just kind of want to read some kind of Superman book that maybe has a little bit more of like that epic, you know, one and done type feel like you've got in a lot of those older annuals and specials and stuff. This is a good one to pick up for that too.
Cool. I think Agent 70 stepped away, so I will pop out a book, and if he comes back, you can talk about it. Exiles number 3. So yes, they brought back Exiles, folks. They definitely got the feel from what I remember of the first series, with them just hopping around from place to place and meeting the you know, similar characters of those dimensions. Still kind of weird that since time and whatever, you know, things have been since what they were since Secret Wars, why are we still having time issues and or
dimensions? It's because Reed and the gang are successfully recreating all the worlds.
They're making the bubbles. Remember, they were making the bubbles of the new universes and throwing them off into space.
And now someone's eating them.
And again, so like, okay, like wait, so it got congealed just to come back again. Anyway,
Listen, what's old is new again. You know, it's a circle of life.
The circle, yeah, sure. All right.
I don't know if that's going to be the song for the night, though.
Nah, we don't have to do that one. But on my notes, I have basically is like, so they go from meeting the terrible Thunder Lizards, if you remember that cartoon, which, as I recall, it was not a Marvel property, but they kind of seemed like they were. I mean, that they were in this instance. And then they went to this other. They met up with a hippie Namor.
The age of Aquarius.
Yeah, which was kind of funny. And of course, OG.
I thought it was Dino Riders, to be honest. I don't remember watching Dino Riders, but that's what it looked like when I opened it.
Well, I thought about that, but then I was like, no, it was more Thunder Lizards because it was them as dinosaurs talking, doing the shooting and the running around and all that kind of good mess, which, you know, kids of the 80s would know that reference, or both of those references. So
sure.
But then, you know, OG Nick Fury shows up because he's kind of been playing a part and I know you've read this, right?
I did read this.
Okay, so you get it caught up. And there's a callback to the original Exiles, which I kind of almost groaned about, but at the same time, it didn't stick around long enough to be that much of a problem. But then it made me think about, like, wow, there's a character that is already on the team that kind of takes that place in a sense.
Right.
And I don't know if I like that character or if that character's going to get annoying after a while. And we're talking about the little mini Wolverine.
I think there's going to be some developments with that character, to be honest.
I think so.
Is he the new Spider-Ham?
No.
Okay.
So just
I
wanted to.
Do you remember the X-Babies?
Vaguely, unfortunately.
Come on, you remember the X-Babies from those whatchamacallit, those annuals?
Right.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, I remember that they were a thing, and I probably read one of them, but otherwise I've tried to, like, get them out of my mind and move on.
Yeah, shout out to Art Adams and those X-Men family
right
annuals that year.
So this is let's just say this is a slightly different version of an X-Baby. So that one, that's the kind of the short and neat part about this, and he's just a little adorable Wolverine who likes pie and like wants to be friends with everybody and this and that and the other. So I was like, okay, that's cute, but I can see him kind of getting annoying after.
That's what the Marvel Universe needs now: another Wolverine being introduced.
A kinder, gentler Wolverine, yes. So that's okay. He's popping around time. I don't think they're going to go to the Prime Universe just yet, or whatever it is now.
I also wanted to mention there is I think it's an accidental reference to Infinity War in this book, and
I think so, yeah.
Right. And I don't want to spoil. I know PCN underscore Dirt unfortunately had the movie spoiled for him by inconsiderate people on or about Free Comic Book Day, and had I been around, I would have laid the smackdown, because that's not cool. Doesn't matter if it's like that much later, that much longer after, But yeah, there's actually what felt like a reference, although considering what the production schedule is for monthly comics, I don't think it's possible. But it's very funny that
they could have. No, we don't know how long this book has been cooking.
Right, but like I said, it's kind of hard to tell if it's
right. Rewrites could have just been like, oh, I'm just gonna drop this in here real quick. How about
right. Especially because they're all digitally lettered anyway, so they can change the script so quickly like that.
Right. And of course, the big thing about this issue is one Captain America, aka Peggy Carter, shows up.
Right.
And which, they go on a mission, and you can almost guess who they're gonna run up against when they do. But
did you just call her Peggy Carter?
No, I said Peggy.
Oh, I could have sworn you said Peggy Carter, like she's Captain America with a baby. There's a captain in the oven.
No. The Bucky is called Becky, though.
Yeah, I was about to say that's Steve Rogers' legacy right there.
Yeah, there you go. So, but like I said, it was going back to what I said in the beginning. They have the feel of the original series pretty good. So I'm gonna keep seeing how this goes.
Okay.
I actually just have one other book really to talk about, and then I'm going to have to jump off here because it's already almost time. But I did read Venom #1.
Oh, so did Tim.
Nice.
And it's actually number 166, I think, is the legacy numbering. It's got the dual numbers for legacy. And the only reason why I got it was because Donny Cates wrote it, and he's the guy who's been doing Thanos. He's going to be doing Cosmic Ghost Rider. There was something else recently that had his name on it, but I can't remember what it is.
The Damnation.
Yeah, it's Damnation. Right. So
Tarnation.
Yeah, Tarnation that's my jam. But I went ahead and I grabbed the #1 just because whatever. And I had tried actually previously when they relaunched Venom, and he was the psychopath version of him, whatever. And I tried getting into it and I just couldn't do it. And then I tried when they rebooted him as Agent Venom in space. I tried again and I got a couple of issues into it and it's just like, nah, whatever. So this Venom, to make it different from the other stuff, goes back to its roots with Eddie Brock. And it does retcon some of Venom's history. And it does it in a way where it doesn't feel as cheap as some other retcons that I've run into in the past few years. And it does it in a way where it would make sense that it was kept hidden. It would make sense that he wouldn't know. And it would make sense that it would lead to problems now. And I'll say that much without giving it away, because it is, one of those things like when you start hearing this stuff, you're like, wait, this doesn't, like, how is this even possible? And then Eddie Brock says the same thing. This doesn't make sense. How is this even possible? So they start trying to track some of the stuff down. But he's really played as a guy who Venom is constantly this evil, just psychotic thing that's always talking to him. He had this mental breakdown. Now he's taking medication to keep the voices out of his head from Venom. And Venom is actually starting to have mental problems of his own because he can't control Eddie and he's not taking over Eddie's mind. So Venom himself, as a separate being that connects to Eddie Brock, is starting to share Eddie's nightmares and be scared of them the same way that Eddie is, because he no longer has this control. He's starting to lose control, and you're not really sure how much of this is fear from Eddie, how much of this is fear from the symbiote.
Yes, but the other side of the symbiotic relationship.
Right. So because they've put in this break, things are starting to kind of fall apart, and they do fight, back and forth sometimes and take over. But the thing that he does that's really interesting is that with the retcon that he's introduced, he's trying to add some more history to Venom and make him much more than just, hey, this thing from space, attached itself to Spider-Man and then it jumped onto me. He's trying to build more of a mythology and more of a universe. And as we've seen, Venom turns into Carnage, turns into Anti-Venom, turns into, whoever again and again and again and again. It's like, hey, there's actually a being here and a life that came from somewhere, and this must be how these things act and work. So without going back to that, I don't remember what Maximum Carnage, storyline where it's like everybody in the world had a Venom suit for 5 minutes.
Oh, there's a couple of them like that, but go ahead.
Right.
Venom is the most recent one.
But he does try to give it more of a background and build more of a world and a mythology for the character of the symbiote and where he came from, and make it a little more interesting there instead of just being this one note villainous character. So, and it's funny because he gets kidnapped, Venom gets kidnapped, and the guy who kidnaps him expects to see Agent Venom underneath there. And when it comes off, it's Eddie Brock, and he's like, wait, you're the wrong guy. So it's even
not Flash Thompson. I got you.
Yeah, so it's even like throwing back to like, hey, there's been a lot of stuff going on in the past few years.
Gotcha.
Let's try to buckle down, bring it back to the character, and do something interesting with it. So I was actually pleasantly surprised. It was one of those things that's like, well, I'm going to buy it because it's Donny Cates, and I'm going to give it a shot. But I'm thinking in the back of my mind, I'm probably going to go, 3 or 4 issues, just like some of these other series, and that'll be the end of it. But this one was actually really good. I really enjoyed it right off the bat.
All right. So,
does it feel like they're setting up for a movie that may or may not be coming?
No, because from what I've seen of the movie feels much more like, I want to say street level. Where it's like all the stuff that Venom's doing is kind of in the shadows in the background, and it looks like it never becomes a big thing like all the other Marvel movies. And this is much more, it feels like it has much more of an ability to explode out into a big deal if it's not handled correctly. So it doesn't feel like it's the same thing at all.
Okay. And looking at Tim's notes, he says, Frank Martin's colors on Ryan Stegman's pencils made this look like a horror comic. Love the new layers being added to Venom's mythos.
Cool.
So, cool beans. I feel like it feels like a Hulk story by your description, though.
Yeah, it kind of does. I mean, you could definitely make that comparison. If Hulk was psychotic, and had the ability to control and talk to Banner while Banner is awake, if you put him in that situation where you had the two voices in their head at the same time, so no matter what form he's in, you always have both voices fighting each other, which I know has happened occasionally.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, along those same lines, sure.
Okay. Cool. All righty, Dirt.
All right, I got to kiss the kids. Oh, I guess I better come with a click. A click for this one. You know what? I'll go with Venom. I will go with Venom. Read it. Everybody should give it a shot. It is really well done. It's much better than I expected. I think people will enjoy it. So there you go.
All righty.
Cool.
All right, guys. I'll see you next week.
Take it easy.
Take it easy. All right. As we continue this here show,
rapid fire it.
Yeah, might as well.
Because we don't have too many. I was going to say there's not too many books left, and we already covered a couple of mine. So yeah, exactly. So let me cover the other book that Tim and I both read, Hunt for Wolverine: The Adamantium Agenda.
Mm-hmm.
Did you read that?
Yeah.
Okay. So just very quickly, Tim says that he did not see the twist ending coming. He loves R.B. Silva's art, and I second that. He's been an unsung hero at Marvel across a few different titles this last year. I definitely noticed the art. It stuck out to me. I like Tom Taylor's script on this because it was very kind of self-aware. Like as we went through the motions of the story, I was like, well, Spider-Man actually points out, well, this is sort of ... contrived. So, there's a couple of, kind of meta fourth wall breaking references there, like kind of just like stuck into the script just as like, little beats to kind of laugh at. So I appreciated that. I don't know if I'm going to pick up any of these side Hunt for Wolverine miniseries, because it just doesn't it doesn't make sense. It's just tough to justify it in the old comic budget. Sometimes there's a lot of these books coming out, and they're killing me with Greg Land covers. So
oh, then you won't like the other
exactly
book out this week then.
Exactly.
Which that wasn't a bad cover. Anyway, but you're good with that one?
Yes.
Oh, go for you had a couple more.
All right, so let me finish up. So Tim, we covered all of Tim's books. So let me rapid fire through the rest of mine. Incredible Hulk number 716. We are at the penultimate issue of World War Hulk 2. This is a pretty interesting, speaking of psychological aspects to characters and how the Venom story was trying to set it up, or was being set up as in a very similar vein to some of the Bruce Banner and Hulk, and now you can add Amadeus Cho and Hulk personality conflicts, within the heads of these characters. So that's what's going on in this. So there's a lot of cool stuff going on in this, and we're almost at the end of this particular Hulk run because Immortal Hulk is right around the corner. And Peter Parker, the Spectacular Spider-Man number 304. Time travel is a pain in the neck, because once you think time travel is okay and you come back to the future that you've hoped to avoid, by going into the past and trying to fix things, it's all a big cluster. So that's what's happening in this issue. It's very, very interesting. It's well done. Zdarsky and Kubert are on point. It's a lot of fun. As much fun as I'm having reading Slott's Swan Song on Amazing, this is like a real treat, to have like an ongoing Spidey book that's still kind of carrying on while like the world seems to be coming to an end in Amazing, so it's fun to have this as an additional Spidey book that's in continuity. It's not remember I've mentioned it before, Amazing is definitely playing off of what's happening in Spectacular. It's not off on its own like Spectacular has been in recent reboots.
Yeah, for your own girl.
And that's it.
Gotcha. Okay. Sorry, I had to.
That's okay.
Well, then I will get to mine real quick, and that would be actually 2 books. Wait, no, 1 book, really, realistically. Yeah, Domino number 2. So after the events of last issue, where Domino gets thrown out of a window and her luck's was not holding up, guess what? And it popped back to her. Come to find out that we found out in this issue why her powers failed her, or more specifically, who was the one who caused her powers to fail her. And we also find out that apparently one of the other villains is Benjamin Button.
Really?
Kinda. Because yes, apparently the well, if you plan on reading this, then I won't go too much farther into this, but yeah.
So he like magically turns into Brad Pitt?
No, not so much.
But
he is an old man that gets younger by the use of either somebody's powers or the person who can apparently mess with other people's powers, that is riding along with them. We also see an appearance by none other than 1, Spider-Man, 2, Taskmaster. I have no idea where he came from. And Amadeus Cho, who is actually in a good bit of this issue, which I'm sitting here like, wait, when did Domino and Amadeus Cho even meet? So
he is the Hulk after all.
I mean, yeah, you're probably right, and I guess at some point they, sure, it could possibly, because I was like, wait, what, really? Because at first I didn't know, because there were people being called by name, and
has to be X-Force. Remember, isn't she in the X-Force book?
She probably, yes, sure.
Don't you remember? Amadeus, like that's where that Weapon H, the Hulk Wolverine combo
I read none of that. So
No, I don't think most of us read it either, but the point is it happened.
that would make sense because yeah, you're right. There is a recent So okay, sure, there we go. Mystery solved. But yeah, so I thought it was because being not reading that, I was like, well, but still, he was kind of in there for a while, and of course, Domino and her crew are on a caper again, and she's kind of shook after the events of last issue, but she's also trying to find out like who's the one that's been talking, who's been one that's been kind of putting her in the trouble that she's in, I guess, without going too far into it. And she's kind of thinking it's one of her friends, but she doesn't want to think that. And then some stuff happens in this issue, and things go boom, as they tend to do around Mercs. And of course, there's a nice aside by Deadpool, who also shows up in the book. Of course. So that is Domino's, Lord. There's Domino number 2, and actually my other book is not so much of a book, but because I kind of talked about it already, and that was the Free Comic Book Day Avengers Captain America book, which I kind of just skimmed through, so I didn't necessarily read it as much. So I'm done.
Cool. All right, so I guess it's time for Clicks of the Week, and Dirt's already announced his, so let me play the sound effect.
In fact, he and one Tim Dog had the same one, and that was Venom number 1.
There you go.
For mine, I'm just going to go with Batman White Knight number 8. It was definitely good.
All right, and I am going to go with, what did I enjoy reading this week? I actually, despite it being a kind of a slow week in terms of the number of books out, I actually enjoyed reading most of these books.
Yeah, sure.
I'm going to go with, this is tough because nothing really jumped out, but I definitely had a good time reading. You know what? I'm going to go with damn.
Not so easy, is it?
Yeah, seriously, it's not. It is not. I'm going to go with Peter Parker, the Spectacular Spider-Man number 304. I enjoyed this. Like I said, it's a fun read. It's nice to see, to read like kind of an ongoing Spidey story while all hell is breaking loose and amazing. So,
right. Yeah, I'm kind of upset with myself because I didn't get to read the Darth Vader book because I realized I was a couple of issues behind, and also realized that how much that played into the Star Wars book.
Right. Okay.
No, they're at different times, so I was like, well, that's whatever it is. But anyway, Clicks of the Week, that's what it was, and that's what they are. Enjoy them, folks.
Cool.
Now go into an ad.
You got it. So our first ad read of the night, and just bear with me, I'm a little under the weather, is for Wink, the personalized wine club. Wink is a world of wine delivered right to your door. From rosé to Cabernet to Torrontés, Wink has over 100 styles of wine to discover. Ever try an orange wine? Wink connects you to a world of exclusive wines tailored to your tastes and delivered directly to your door. Wink delivers 4 bottles of wine to you every month with free shipping. You can pick your own bottles or let Wink choose and match to your taste. It doesn't cost a thing to become a member, and you can skip or cancel anytime. And now, the listeners of the KLIQ Nation's Comic Book Chronicles can enjoy an exclusive discount of $20 off your first order. To place your first order with $20 off, and to help keep our show free for you, go to our network website at cspn.us/wink. That's cspn.us/wink. WINC. Wink wines through CSPN. Do it today.
If you're playing along on the home version and you winked or drunk every time he said wink, then you must be smashed by now.
Ha ha ha.
Unless you did the winking like I did. But anyway, now we're going to the cinematic news. Alrighty. And we're going to tag team this. You're going to start us off. Or actually, I know you're under the weather, so I can do this. So you don't.
No, we'll tag team it just to make it go. Just to keep it.
Okay, go for it.
So Krypton confirms Justice League and spoiler exist in their universe. So this week's episode of Syfy's Krypton dropped a reference to the Justice League and confirmed the existence of Green Lantern within their universe. So up until now, the series hadn't acknowledged any DC superheroes outside of Superman.
I don't agree with this. Now, I haven't seen this. I haven't seen it since the first episode. So according to this article, Adam Strange, who has shown up on the show pretty much every episode, basically says, I can't fly, have no super spoilers, folks. I have no super strength, no powering. That, I don't see how that just specifically says there's Green Lanterns in here in this universe. Like, yeah, I get it. He comes from Earth and he knows things. He comes from future Earth and he knows from things. Like, that doesn't necessarily say, hey, there's Green Lanterns floating around here. Like, because you know how a lot of the Arrowverse shows are kind of make a, like, granted, they will make a wink and a nod to stuff that is actually in comic books. So, but that's just me. Whatever. I'm sure that's, they probably wouldn't have said that without reason, but I don't know. I can't agree with this article's assertion. But next up, DC's Titans TV show may have cast its Wonder Girl in one, what is her name? Connor Leslie. And this is a report because we don't know if it's exactly true or not. There's no official confirmation of this that I know of since this came out.
Okay,
but,
so she does bear a resemblance to the character.
I mean, yeah, a little darkening. I mean, yeah, that picture is, whatever it is, but a little darkening of the hair and a little, there
you go.
All right. They'll work that out.
Right. Here's who voices Batman in the Teen Titans Go movie. Guess what? You hear this guy's voice weeknights at 11:30 p.m. on ABC.
Unless you don't watch Jimmy Kimmel. Yes.
There you go. Jimmy Kimmel. You can. I mean, I happen to watch Colbert, so. But yeah, you can watch Kimmel. I tuned into Kimmel when he had the Avengers on him. You can't help it. So. True. But yeah, he is voicing Batman of all people.
Yeah, which I'm still not sure what to think about that. But I watched the trailer for this, and I'm one of the few people who actually enjoys Teen Titans Go. I might actually go see this. So I don't know. Next up, Arrow star Paul Blackthorne, aka Harry Dresden, to some of us, to exit ahead of season 70. So he gets 70. I mean, that's been a while, but not that long. So yeah, Paul Blackthorne, who plays Quentin Lance, detective / captain / I think is he mayor now, deputy mayor or something like that. Yes, he's regardless in the show, and it has been since season 1. Playing Quentin Lance, aka the daughter of Dina and Sarah Lance. I wouldn't say the Canaries, whatever. He's leaving the show. Sad, but it's happening. Which there was another recent leaving of the show by the young lady whose name is escaping me, who plays Thea. So it is what it is.
Okay,
Holland, that's her name. So next up,
you can get another look at Cloak and Dagger's powers in a new clip from the what channel is this?
AKA formerly ABC Family.
That's what I was going to say. So I've seen a couple of these commercial clips. It's actually pretty, like as much as I don't want to watch like a teeny bopper TV show, I like how they're portraying their powers.
Indeed. So cool. That'll happen when it happens. Oh, June 7th actually is when it's going to happen.
It's coming up soon. And we don't have to necessarily subscribe to a new subscription service to watch it.
No, we do not. But you will need cable. So
that's true. That's true. What I was going to mention is I'm not plugging anything, but they're targeting people who subscribe to Spotify already because they have that combo subscription for Spotify and Hulu. And I was just like, yeah, I don't want to spend that much money just to watch Runaways.
Yeah, I have Hulu and I still haven't watched Runaways yet, but I hear it's all right. Next out, why Marvel Studios has to call the microverse the quantum realm. So this is talking about the upcoming Ant-Man and Wasp movie. Actually, no, excuse me. This is talking about because I think they called it that in the first movie.
Yep.
So I'll take that back. But they are going to dive more into it in the upcoming Ant-Man and Wasp movie. And actually, I'll be honest, I didn't really read the story, so I don't know why, and it doesn't really matter. It's probably, I'm sure there's some legal reason or something.
I was under the impression it's because the name Microverse was associated with the Micronauts, and that's right. That's that's what I thought it was.
It doesn't say that here.
Might be a different. It might be a different reason then.
Oh wait. No, it doesn't talk about that because it talks about Fantastic Four back around and da 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 da. So either way, hey, they did it for a reason.
Yeah.
I mean, what you think about it? Like the Infinity Gems are stones now, and and were Horcruxes.
So there's a spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Ring the bell.
Yeah. Speaking of Adventures of Infinity War, last week, so I feel pretty good about this. Avengers Infinity War surprise cameo may play a secret second role. So spoiler alert, we kind of went into it last week, and someone on this panel, I'm not gonna name his name, me, I mentioned that the Red Skull shows up looking somewhat like another character that has been fairly recently introduced in the Marvel comics canon, and that is of the Unseen, who was also in the Exiles book this week, but I didn't bring up. AKA OG Nick Fury, formerly known as. So yes, so this CBR is thinking that the Red Skull might also be the Unseen, or a version of the Unseen, which, again, I mentioned last week, not to toot my own horn. We don't know if that's actually the truth or not, but it is, somebody else noticed. And it's also calling back Original Sin, which is an event that I would really, really like to forget.
Yeah.
Amongst all the other ones that have been coming along lately. But anyway, next up.
A botanist disputes James Gunn's Baby Groot claim explanation. Wait. Seriously, people, you got to be kidding me with this. You got to be kidding me with this.
So I put this probably about a week or two, maybe. I think it was like a week or so. And I should also note that this is written by one Tim Adams. You might know him by Tim D-O-G. I hope I didn't. Well, people probably know the connection already, so I apologize for that if I'm ruined something there. But so yeah, James Gunn came out and said that the Groot that we all know and love is Baby Groot, aka Teen Groot in Infinity War, is his son. And there might have been a Lady Groot somewhere along the line, and blah 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 blah. Well, this botanist came out on Twitter and was like, "Nah, son," and just kind of went into it as to why that's not the case and what Groot actually is, which is basically a clone of the original Groot, which I felt like that was something we kind of knew comics wise.
Right.
So it is what it is. That's the thing. It's out there.
Let's not try to over-explain things, people.
Yeah, no, yeah, But it was fun. It was the fun that actually happened. Next.
What's next?
Luke Cage, Misty Knight's cybernetic arm isn't a Tony Stark special. So apparently in the next season of Luke Cage, one Simone Missick, aka very beautiful woman, aka Misty Knight, as she is playing in the next season, will get her, or an A arm, I should say. It's probably not going to be the version of who we all know and love. But we can see here, if you're watching the video, that there is a design for said arm. And there's a big R, which at first I was like, Robin? Really? But no, the speculation is that the big R that could be from the Rand Corporation, aka Iron Fist's company.
That makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, in I guess it does, but I would have still liked to be like, hey, Tony Stark sent this as a kind of a big nod, but really not really. Obviously, we all know that the Netflix stuff has only been winking and nodding to stuff, just like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. has, and there's really been no
less so. I was going to say less.
Right, because at least Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. has been like tying into what's been going on in the MCU.
Right.
Whereas the Netflix shows have not, with the exception of, like I said, a wink and a nod here and there. But so yeah, there is that. And when is that coming? June 22nd. Speaking of things that are coming soon.
Yep. All right. So, the BET Black Panther series is apparently available.
Mm-hmm. Again. So yeah, so BET had a short run back conference written by Reginald Hudlin from 2011, excuse me. They put it out on DVD a while ago, but they took it off the shelves and off Netflix and other places after that for some odd reason. But now with now with Black Panther coming out as popular as it did, and also the DVD Blu-ray is coming out next week, by the way. It's already out on digital. Not trying to plug it, but I'm just saying. But people have put, this version of the Black Panther on various sites, and they've been taken down probably. So now they're putting it back up, and I think it's going to be on Facebook, according to this. Like BET is going to put it up on Facebook.
Okay.
But yeah, so it says BET is currently staggering the uploads of the videos throughout the day, but all 6 will be on their Facebook page, that's a weird way to put it. Honestly, slightly kind of dumb way to put it. Well, we're gonna go on that. So if you're on Facebook, you can go check that out. And this is from this is from the first, so it's probably all out there by now.
All right. In our last bit of cinematic news,
Star Trek 4 major plot point potentially revealed, in that Thor might be coming to the Star Trek universe. Just kidding, because he was already there in the form of James Tiberius Kirk's dad, who, if you remember from the first JJ Verse film, he supposedly melts in untimely death. But according to Jennifer Morris, who played Kirk's mom, it could very much be supposed death.
That stinks, because that was actually one of the best parts of JJ's reboot.
So it's been known that Chris Hemsworth is going to be in Star Trek 4, but it was not known in what capacity. It could have been it could be a flashback or something. So we don't know. And now this speculation that maybe he'll be back, or he never left, or something.
Right.
We'll see. That's the thing. But yeah.
Alrighty. So we move to comic news.
Yeah, which we kind of already talked about it. And Free Comic Book Day was last Saturday, and the books there was an article before that was a list of books that was going to be given out on that day. And some of them have made their way to digital, because the DC one that is already out on Comixology, and also the 2 Marvel ones, which we kind of spoke of earlier, are now on Comixology. So that is the Amazing Spider-Man, Guardians of the Galaxy one, and the Avengers Captain America one. So you can go to Comixology and go check them out at your leisure. Also written by our very own Tim, I should point out, this article.
Nice. I'm gonna have to make some time to do that. My physical copy of the Avengers Free Comic Book Day book is still on its way.
Yeah, mine is actually right here. Oh, you mail ordered yours?
No, my shop ordered me one.
Oh, nice. Oh, because they ran out. Gotcha.
Yep.
Okay, so yeah, I've got mine here, which, if that's what that noise was, because they were still in the plastic bag, and I never got around to reading them until today. Anyway,
Top Cow Talent Hunt 2018 winners reveal. Congratulations to the winners of the 5th annual Top Cow Talent Hunt.
When am I going to win one of these things? No, I'm just kidding.
Have you been entering?
No.
Okay. Okay.
I was just making that joke. But yeah, good congratulations to all the winners. Let's see. Action Comics 1000 and Marvel. Oh, we should point out that June solicitations have come out.
Right.
So some of this news is going to be informed by at least a couple of them anyway. So I'm sure we'll hear some more about it next week. But Action Comics 1000 and Marvel Powers April 18, 2018. Lord have mercy. Comic book sales to positive month. So basically, yeah, Action Comics 1000 sold a lot, and some Marvel books. Not Powers, If you're thinking that, but Hunt for Wolverine #1, Venomize #1, Amazing Spidey 798 and 799, Domino's #1, Captain America 700 are basically all in the top 10, with Walking Dead 178 rounding out that said top 10. So yeah, that was they. Guess what? Comic book sold good last month. Next up.
Spoiler alert. Ta-Nehisi Coates begins his Captain America run by cloning the perfect villain.
Which, yeah, so this is basically talking about the B story of the Free Comic Book Day Avengers / Captain America story that came out on Free Comic Book Day, and we're not going to spoil it, but I feel like we already knew about this in some capacity,
right?
If it is who I'm thinking it is, but nevertheless, we're not going to go too far into it, and that is out there. You can go check it out. How the Avengers of I think this one is also. Spoiler. Anyway, how the Avengers of 1 million BC will affect the new Avengers is revealed. Yes, the Avengers comic book Free Comic Book Day issue kind of goes over into the ties into Avengers #1 of last week, which actually on my part, because I was skimming through it, made me think it was like, well, wait a minute, was this before Avengers #1 or like during the events of or after? Because it seemed like the way Avengers #1 played out, they did not. Some of this stuff wasn't informed of that.
Yikes!
Or it could be just me. And again, I skimmed the Free Comic Book Day issue, so I'm probably missing. I got to the part where Odin and Loki were talking, and boy, that was something. That was interesting. But yeah, it's out there. You can go ahead and check that out.
Alrighty. Next up, the original Iron Man movie armor worth $320,000 is missing. What?
That's the sound of the police.
Seriously.
So yeah, apparently, they don't. At least according to this article, they're not sure which one was stolen. But it could be the Mark III one that show, or at least the one he ended up in last time, or the last part of Iron Man 1, but they're not sure. Because I'm like, okay, somebody would probably want that first 10 one, but I don't know. Regardless, one of the props is missing, and they're looking for it. And it sounds like maybe it was an inside job. I don't know, but that's weird that happened. So if you see somebody roll around in the Iron Man suit, outside of the person we talked about last week who's trying to make that Hulk buster,
right?
Let me stop. I'm not even gonna go there. I'm not even gonna make that joke. Next up, Lando Double or Nothing comic doubles down on Star Wars' Daring Gambler. So guess what, folks? Star Wars is gonna have another comic, and there's gonna be another Lando comic miniseries, written by the Falcon Router Rodney Barnes. So
you gotta have a tie-in. You gotta have a tie-in.
I mean, you know, exactly. And hey, you know, being the universe that it is, there's going to be miniseries out the wazoo. It is going to be coming out very soon at the end of this month, May 30th. So I will be looking forward to that.
Cool. Speaking of the Solo movie, Topps is counting down to Solo, a Star Wars story, with new trading cards.
Yes. And I was sitting here wondering because, and forgive the noise, but oh, I forgot a screen sharing. If you've gone to Denny's in the last month, maybe you will know that they have been selling little trading cards from the Solo movie. I don't think this is associated. It is from Topps, but I don't think these are the same ones. From that, because like I said, Denny's is doing a separate thing, sort of. But again, it is a thing that is already out. So you can go to Denny's and pay $3 for a pack of cards if you want to do that. I was stupid enough to do that. Right. But I don't know when these are coming out. And by the way, may the 4th be with you, because we passed that.
Yep.
Oh wait, it says trading card company's house was revealing a new card every weekday until the film's premiere. So I guess that's been going on somewhere. And maybe they'll put them out as a set. It doesn't say here. Next up.
Sorry, I scrolled up for a second to take a look at something. Rumor, an open world Superman game in the works at Rocksteady.
Now, yes, we've already talked about this before, and it's still a rumor as much as it was then. But with E3, the Electronic Entertainment Expo, coming up next month, the rumor came up again, and if it was me, I'm like, this came off of 4chan, so why wouldn't on earth would you even trust that? Anyway, that's just me. It's just me. But regardless, it's been a rumor for a minute, and so they're thinking that the folks that did our the Batman Arkham games, which are very good games, might be trying to do a Superman game, which hopefully by their pedigree would still be good, because we haven't had a good Superman game ever.
Okay.
And they give some sort of whatever, but anyway, it's all rumors. Doesn't matter. Next.
I kind of remember a semi-open world Superman game that did not look good, that made you fly through literal circles.
Yes, that I believe that was Superman 64, or was that the NES one? I can't remember.
It was Xbox.
Well, I mean, they could have ported that one over.
Xbox and PS2. I mean, like that gen.
Yes, I mean, there's been a few Superman games, so that they could have ported that one over there. But I'm thinking, yeah, it's either Superman 64 or it's that same game and they ported over. One of the two. But yes, I remember that.
Literally flying through circles.
Yeah, totally. That is the one that everyone thinks of when they talk about bad Superman games.
Jeez.
So
I was about to say the Incredible Hulk open world game was better than that.
That's true. Hulk. Oh man, Ultimate Destruction was pretty great.
That's it. That's what I was thinking of.
Yes.
Where you could where they did the whole smash cars and make them into gauntlets. That was pretty cool.
That was good. That was because there was a Hulk one before that, and there was another Hulk one before that. And actually, I'm trying to find both of those because there was something I was doing on Twitch that I'm going to bring back that's comic related. That's about those games. That's a whole nother subject for a whole nother show. Batman, the animated series, is finally getting the tabletop board game Gotham deserves. So they're making a Batman animated series board game, as I'm saying. It's called Gotham Under Siege. Know when it's coming out. It's going to come out this August and will cost $50. So if you're into board games and you like the Bat, hey, there you go.
Alrighty, and our last bit of news is Reed Pop, the folks behind C2E2 and New York Comic Con, are going to walk in the NYC Pride Parade and unveil they've unveiled a tie-in T-shirt for charity.
Nice.
Pride Parade is scheduled for June 24th here in New York City.
Yeah. So that's right. Or wait, that's Comic Con. Never mind. So yeah, and I also saw there was like a DC pin somebody had. I don't know if that's for sale or not. That was also talking about Pride. So that was cool. But there is one other. It's not news, but I wanted to bring this up.
I wanted to actually mention something related to New York Comic Con. They've dropped news on ticket sales dates. So if you are on the fan verification email list, you should have gotten something by now.
For
New York Comic Con.
Yeah. Which is not until October, but that's
right. But the tickets go on sale in June.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, just giving everyone the heads up now.
So at the time that as of this recording, and don't say the years because they said don't say the years. If you're a hip hop person, you know who said that. So yeah, go check that out. But one other thing I wanted to bring up in the very corner was George Perez reteams with Thanos for Infinity Wars Prime variant, which I'm going to pop back up here really quick.
It's a cool variant.
And I know you being a fan of George Perez.
Yes, he's a huge fan of George Perez. Luckily, hopefully, he's doing a lot better health-wise. He had a heart attack the last time I was supposed to actually see him at East Coast Comic Con last year. So hopefully he's doing a lot better.
Yes, and if you're watching the video, you can see the variant right there. And that, folks, is the news. We got one more ad to go through.
Okay, one more ad. So, Our final ad for the night is for Funko, Fun at First Sight. Your home for exclusive collectibles such as their world's famous pop vinyl bobbleheads, apparel in the form of t-shirts, hats, and socks, and brand merchandise, custom DIY pop figures, art books, and skateboards. And now the listeners of the KLIQ Nation's Comic Book Chronicles can enjoy 10% off your entire purchase when shopping at Funko. To place your first order with 10% off and to help keep our show free for you, go to our network website at cspn.us. That's cspn.us. Then click on the Keep Our Podcast Free link at the top of the page. From there, scroll down to the Funko link and place your order. When you get to the checkout, put in the offer code SHOP10, SHOP, SHOP10 for your 10% off discount. Funko through cspn.us. Do it today.
You got to remember to start putting that CSPN link up when you're doing that. But we come to a close of another fine episode of the Comic Book Chronicles. We'd like to thank PCN_Dirt for popping by to give his views. He will be back with us next week. Well, we didn't talk about this, but I'm thinking we're gonna have a show. I don't know if you were going to. Deadpool is next week, so there might be movie protocol for a couple of people. I'm not gonna be one of them.
We may not. Like, I haven't figured it out yet. Haven't been in contact with this isn't exactly the same draw as Infinity War, but if enough people ask whether or not I'm coming, and if I'm up to it, I'll see if I can go. But I haven't planned on it right now, so we'll see.
Gotcha. But stay tuned to our Twitters, and we will let you know either through our various ones or the CB Cron Twitter. And on that, we'd like to thank everybody for coming out. Like I said, Agent_70 on Twitter and Instagram. You can go check him out there. PCN_Dirt on Twitter. You can also check him out at PopCultureNet on Twitter. PopCultureNetwork.com. I Need Comics.com, which is a splinter site of PopCultureNetwork.com. TimDog98 on Twitter. You can check him out there. And you can also check him out on TheClickNation.com. TheClickNation.com, and also TheClickNation on Twitter. That's DKLIQNATION. You can also find him on the CB Cron Twitter, which is CB Cron. For myself, you can find me, Roddycat, who has been your host this evening, at Roddycat on Twitter. You can also find me at News Nerds Need on Twitter. You can also find me the News Nerds Need Reddit on Reddit, and CB Caps on Instagram. I have actually put some stuff up in the last couple of days of comic panels. You can find us again at the CSPN.us with other fine shows. You can also find us on Google Play and iTunes / Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, and other places. You can also help us by going to shop.cspn.us and go and buy some merch from this fine product, from this fine show, or any of that on the CSPN. Do that. There's some good shows on the network, and help us out with that. And with that, we bring to a close this fine episode by me stalling because I can do this, not to look behind the corner. But this has been the Comic Chronicles, and we are out.
Peace.